In our next exercise, we're going to be discussing the work order closing routine within X3. The work order close, it's the process in the system where the production manager basically is formally declaring that no further production activity is going to be taking place against this particular work order. Okay, so no further raw material consumptions, no further time trackings, no other subcontracting activity, nor any other finished good declarations are going to be made against the job. In addition to that, this work order close routine, basically it's the mechanism that communicates to the cost accounting department that the job is now ready to be costed. So what we'll see here when we get into X3 is that when we're running this work order close function, you're going to be presented with a list of all firm work orders that are currently in the system. So basically the exercise is on this screen to go through once again and ensure all raw materials been consumed, all of your labor and machine time have been tracked, and your finished goods have been declared. Okay, then once you do those 3 checks, it's at that point in time that you can go ahead and close out the job. And we'll see here that this function in X3 is located under the manufacturing menu, production tracking, and at WO close. Okay. In terms of the overall manufacturing process flow in X3, as per our prior manufacturing videos in the series, you can see that the work order close routine falls in between the conclusion of the production tracking and it's a precursor to the cost accounting team doing the work order finalizations. Okay. So let's go ahead now into X3 and take a look at how we can close out a work order. So here we are within X3. We're at the work order close function. And what I did when I came into the function, I came in here and I specified my manufacturing site. And once I specified the site, it went ahead and presented me with a list of work orders that are at that site. Okay. You can see in here that these orders, it has a completed status here. And typical things that I look to review here is number 1, does my actual quantity that I made on the job, does it equal to my planned quantity? So in this case I can see that they're one and the same and I don't have any remaining to be produced. I can see down here also that the goods that I manufactured have a quality control status of A. Over here on the products tab, this is where your finished good declarations are at. So in this case I can see that I have a line status of completed here, so that's what I'm looking for. If this line status here read in progress, that would let me know that this work order potentially isn't ready to be closed out yet because some goods are still being manufactured. Okay. Over here on the components tab, here's a register of all the raw materials that went into the job. And once again here, I'm looking for the line status to all read completed. So this one looks to be pretty good. Then finally over here on the operations tab, this is where it's kind of a reflection of all my machine time and labor time that I dedicated to the job. And once again, everything here reads of a closed status. Okay, so from those 3 angles, everything looks to be square. So when I'm ready to close out the job, I can come over here and click on the close button. I get a little prompt here. It's kind of a confirmation message of sorts. I'll say yes to that. Okay, now this pop-up message here, in another video we're going to be talking about the concept of the WIP finalization. Typically, that's a separate responsibility from the work order close. So in this case, I'm just going to advise you to click no when you get this pop-up message for the production cost calculation. Okay, so now we can see at this point the work order status now reads closed. Okay, so that's one way of closing out a work order. Now let's go in and I'm going to show you another method of closing out work orders. So here under your manufacturing menu, we're going to come down under production tracking, then into the mass closing completions function. So in here at this parameter screen, I'm going to go ahead and specify my production site. Over here in the work order close field, I'm going to set that to closed here because I only want to act upon work orders that are set to be closed. In here in the starting and ending date or start end range fields, you can filter on work order number, you can filter on product, production date, project number, and order number. I'm just going to run this one wide open to pull in all the work orders. In here in the filter section, I'm going to click on this option here for the completed work orders only. So don't bring in any jobs for which the status, the tracking status on the work order is not set to completed. Then I have certain blocks that I can set in here also. Don't include the work order in the workbench if you have at least one raw material that hasn't been consumed yet. Don't bring in the work order if at least one operation hasn't been tracked. Or if, in this case, if your completed quantity is less than your planned quantity, or if at least one of the product hasn't been produced. So usually when I run this, these are the settings that I like to utilize. Down here in the allocations section, you could, if you check this box here, when you do the closure of the work order, it will serve to go back and perform your production tracking. Typically, I try to stay away from that because you know, that's not going to be exact in accordance with what actually happened out on the floor. In addition to that, this production cost price, I like to leave that one unchecked because I don't want to finalize these work orders. I want to leave that to the cost accountants. Okay, so we have all our parameters set. Now we're going to come and click on the OK button. Alrighty, so here's your workbench. Okay, so we got 3 jobs in here that are ready to be closed out. One thing that you'll note in here, up here on the closing date, you can go ahead and change this closing date. Sometimes I see that done in cases where if you want the work order to be closed in the prior accounting period, say maybe you're on the first work day of the new month, you can go ahead and backdate the closing date to the last day of the prior month. Then when you finalize the work order, all your variances will be booked on that day. Okay, so in here working with the workbench here, I have an include all, then an exclude all option here. So if there's certain work orders that I wanted to exclude from the closing process, I can come in here and check and uncheck them accordingly. If I want to tunnel down and analyze anything on the work order through my action button, I can click that, then come down to work order. Then in here, I can click on my full entry transaction. Then this will take me over to the work order. Now here on the header tab, I can come in here and see that my line status here all reads completed. Over on my components tab, so all our component statuses are set to completed. Over here on the operations tab, I can see the line status here is closed. And so I should be good to go. I'm going to go ahead and close page there. Then back on the mass closing workbench here, I'm going to come over and click on the close button. And that should in part serve to close out these 3 jobs. And it gives me a little log file here indicating as much. Okay, so like I mentioned, these jobs are closed now. And in our next lesson, when we talk about the work order finalization, we'll take a look at how now these closed work orders can be reviewed by the cost accounting department to check for errors and to ensure that our costs incurred are in line with standards. Then we can bring everything full circle with the finalization of the work order. So thank you for tuning in. Please remember to like and subscribe. And as always, if there's any questions, feel free to inbox me. Thanks a lot.